Lately, I've been exploring more and more AI tools, and I've been getting into vibe coding, which in short is just providing instructions to an AI model and then letting it write the code for you. But in this video, I want to go a little bit deeper and provide you with a comprehensive overview of exactly what vibe coding is. Also mention some of the tools you can use that's available right now, which tools I'm currently using, as well as the AI models that I think are the best for writing code at the time of this video recording. And I'll also take you through a step-by-step process of exactly how you can install this on your computer, how you can get it working, and also how you can create and write code completely for free without paying anything. So let's get started. What exactly is vibe coding? So vibe coding is an AI-powered programming approach where developers describe problems in natural language prompts to large language models, which then generate functional code without requiring manual coding or detailed understanding. So developers surrender to the vibes by accepting AI-generated code without needing to understand every single detail. Then it also enables quick software creation and debugging while ignoring the details of the generated code. It also allows even amateur programmers to produce software without extensive training. If you have zero coding experience, you can still get started with vibe coding. You do still need some understanding of how the code works to understand how the app works. But I'll tell you from personal experience, about a year ago, I had completely zero experience in coding, programming languages, whatever you want to call it. I started with XML files, which is my unattended Winstall GitHub project. And along with that, I also had to learn PowerShell scripting and batch file scripting because those scripts were used in the XML file. After that, I created WimUtil, which is a PowerShell application with a WPF window or a Windows Presentation Forms window. After that, I created WinHance, which is also currently a PowerShell WPF application, but I'm refactoring that to C#, which is another language which is much better suited for Windows applications, and I'm going to be having that ready in the near future, and it's going to be much better than the current WinHance PowerShell application. So I just wanted to explain my personal experience with vibe coding to you so that you know you just need an idea, whether it's for a mobile app, a website, a Windows app, a Linux app, it doesn't matter. You can create anything in this day and age for free with vibe coding and the proper tools. But let's move on to the next section. The key tools and technologies that you can use at the time of this recording is Cursor. Cursor was one of the first vibe coding apps, to my knowledge, which featured AI agentic coding capabilities. The best APIs or AI models that I've been using was Claude 3.5 Sonnet, and then recently they released Claude 3.7 Sonnet, which so far has been much better than Claude 3.5. And all across the internet, a lot of people are talking about Claude and its coding capabilities. The thing with the Claude API is that it is a paid service and it is quite expensive, but it's really good. But there are free alternatives that I'll also show you how you can get access to. Then you also have GitHub Copilot, which is already integrated into Microsoft's product like Visual Studio and Visual Studio Code. And then what we're going to be using in this video is the Cline extension. Cline is an extension that you can install inside VS Code. And then once you set it up correctly, you can chat to it and let it write code for you. You can also use it with the various APIs of your choosing. I will also mention the OpenRouter service. With OpenRouter, you can get access to multiple APIs, including the free ones from Google. You will also get some free uses of certain paid APIs, but it'll be limited to a few uses per day. Then there's also some other tools out there at the time of this recording, which is Replit, Windsurf, Claude Code, which is a terminal-based coding app, Aider, Lovable.dev, Bolt, and V0 by Vercel. So next, let's talk a little bit about the setup requirements and then the benefits and use cases. So for your computer, you don't need any specialized hardware. You just need any computer that's capable of running a modern code editor like VS Code or Cursor, for example. Then you can download and install a vibe coding compatible tool like Cursor that we talked about earlier, or Visual Studio Code with the Cline extension that we're going to be using in this video. To start off, you'll create an empty folder on your computer to begin the project, and this will serve as your workspace. You also need an active and stable internet connection that's required to access the AI models through the various APIs. And then you also get YOLO mode in Cursor that you can enable, which will basically allow the AI agent to run terminal commands without you having to manually approve it every time. But I'm going to be showing you this with the Cline extension in VS Code, as it also has an auto approve feature, which basically accomplishes the same thing. Now, one extra thing I'll mention here is that you do need to know how to prompt the AI model to get the results that you're looking for. And I'll help you with that in this video and on future videos that I'm going to be uploading on this channel, because it is kind of an art to prompt the AI with the correct prompts so that it understands you perfectly and gives you exactly what you need. But if we move on to the benefits and use cases, it allows for rapid prototyping, where you can quickly turn ideas into working prototypes without writing code manually. It's democratizing development, which enables non-coders, entrepreneurs, designers, and so on, to bring their ideas to life without extensive coding knowledge. So it dramatically lowers the barrier to entry for software development, making it accessible to anyone with clear ideas. So that's also what I mentioned earlier. As long as you have an idea for an app, doesn't matter on which platform or which software it needs to run. As long as you have the idea and you have the vision and you're willing to put in the time to create the app, you can do that with vibe coding. You don't need a specialist to help you. The specialist is the AI. Then next, it also allows for quick fixes and debugging. It simplifies debugging by interpreting error messages and automatically implementing fixes. So when errors arise, users can simply copy them into the system without further explanation. So there is a caveat to this. Like I explained earlier, sometimes the AI will just go in an endless loop where it can't figure out the problem and provide a solution, and then you manually need to intervene or use another model that might be able to figure it out. But this is happening less and less as the AI models keep improving, and that's happening by the day. Then lastly, it allows for future development. You can rapidly add new features to existing applications with minimal effort, because the programmers don't have to manually go and sit and write code. As long as they provide the correct prompt with the correct structure and instructions, the AI can add that working functionality to their existing application. So then lastly, I also have this quick start workflow, and on this infographic you can see there are 5 steps. First, you need to plan your project, where you need to decide on your idea, your UI design, and feature set before engaging with AI. If you're using Cursor, you can document the guidelines in the Cursor rules files to help AI tools stay aligned. But like I'll show you with Cline and VS Code, you can also do the same thing with Cline. Then thirdly, you need to provide clear, specific prompts about what you want to build. So you do need to know how to prompt the AI. This is really, really important. And then you can review the output, check the generated code for any errors or issues, and then if there are any issues, copy and paste them into the AI for resolution. Then lastly, some common pitfalls to avoid. A common beginner mistake is trusting the AI too much when vibe coding. And this is because hallucination problems can occur, especially in large code bases. So if the project is really large, allowing AI to dictate project direction rather than maintaining clear creative control, not documenting guidelines for the AI to follow, and then skipping the planning phase and diving straight into coding. And that's also why I really like Cline, because Cline has a plan mode and an act mode. Other vibe code editors also basically have the same thing, but my personal preference is using Cline. And a last thing I'll add here is, if you are a beginner, you will have to trust the AI a little bit too much because you don't have any experience yet. But by the AI making mistakes and you troubleshooting those mistakes, it just increases your knowledge base so much more with how the app works, how the code works, and how everything functions together. So now that we have a comprehensive overview of what vibe coding is, the different tools you can use, and how it works, let me now show you step by step how you can download and install Visual Studio Code, how you can install the Cline extension, how you can get different API keys, and then use those to write code and bring your ideas to life. So first off, we're going to download Visual Studio Code. You can get it from code.visualstudio.com/download, but I'll also provide all of these download links and everything I mentioned in my website article, and you can find a link to that in the description of this video as well. So I'm going to be downloading it for Windows, so I'll just click the Windows download button. It should automatically start the download. Then just click on the file to start the installation. Accept the terms. Just go through the normal setup process. I recommend checking all these checkboxes here, then click on next, click on install, and then wait for it to finish installing. And then once it's finished, we can just click on finish and it'll also launch VS Code. So as you can see here, you can also use Copilot for free in VS Code, but that's not what I'm going to be focusing on in this video. What we're going to be doing is setting up Cline in Visual Studio Code. So to do that, you can click on this button here, which is the extensions button. Then you can do a search for Cline, and then you should also get this Cline result here. As you can see, it's been downloaded almost 1 million times, and there are other similar extensions here, but the official Cline one is the one that you're looking for. I've also heard some people say that RuCode, previously RuCline, is also a really good extension. I haven't tested it out yet, but if you want to test another extension, you can also use RuCode. But we're going to install Cline, so I'll click on install. We do trust the publisher, so we'll install that, wait for it to finish, and then once it's installed, then you'll have the Cline icon here in your sidebar, and then you can start using it. So as you can see, Cline can do all kinds of tasks thanks to breakthroughs in Claude 3.7 Sonnet's agentic coding capabilities, and then it can also access tools that lets it create and edit project files, explore your projects, use a browser, and then execute terminal commands with the user's permission. And then it can also use MCPs to create new tools and extend its own capabilities. Now, MCPs are not something I'm going to be getting into this video here, but basically you can use MCPs to supercharge the AI with even more capabilities. For this video here, we're just going to focus on getting Cline set up, providing an API key to an AI model, and then writing a simple app or game with that. Now, I've never used the Cline account. I've always used my own API key, so that's what I'm going to do in this video. So I'll just click use your own API key, and then you get access to choose your API provider. Now, if you click on this drop-down menu, you get access to a bunch of different options here. These are a bunch of large language models that you can use to code with. Now, I've mentioned before that I use Claude 3.7 Sonnet, and that's a model by Anthropic. But if you're not interested in using any of these APIs directly, you can get an OpenRouter account, and then you can go to openrouter.ai and you can sign in. You'll obviously have to create a new account if you don't have one yet. I'm just going to sign in with one of my Google accounts, and then that's it. We're signed in. So you can go up to your profile icon up there. Then you can go to keys, so you can get an API key. And you can see that I've already created some keys on this account. And I've also added credits to this account. The current balance is $10. But you don't have to add any funds to use OpenRouter. You can use it completely for free. Then you can just create a new key. Let's call this Cline testing, and then let me actually put a credit limit on here so you can see that these models are free. Then you'll get your API key, and as you see, you have to copy it now or write it down, save it somewhere, because you will not be able to see it again. And this key needs to be confidential and private, because if someone gets access to your API key, they can use it and use your credits to develop apps. So never share this key with anyone or any other API key that you create. So I'll just go ahead and copy that. And then let's go to the Cline extension. Let's paste the OpenRouter API key and let's click Let's Go. So you'll see after we've added our API key, we have some more options that we can use here. So currently the selected model is Claude 3.7 Sonnet, but we're going to choose another model because as you can see, this model is quite expensive, but it also has the most capability. Cline itself always suggests using Claude 3.7 Sonnet, but for our purposes, we're going to be using one of the free models. So what you can do is you can just remove this and then just type the word free. So you get access to all of these free models, but some of them might be rate limited. I think the ones from Google, like Google Gemma and Google Gemini, they aren't rate limited at all because they're completely free. But I can tell you now that these free models don't perform as well as Claude 3.7 Sonnet at the moment. But for this video example, I'm going to choose the DeepSeek chat free. So I'll select that and then we can move on to the custom instructions. Now these instructions are added to the end of every system prompt that's sent with every request to the AI. You don't want to put too much information here. It might clog up the context window of the AI too much, but I've got some custom instructions that I'm going to paste in here and I'll go through each one of them with you quickly. And I'll also provide these custom instructions in my written guide that's on my website. But basically the instructions I'm giving it here is to always test the project at the end to ensure it doesn't contain errors. Then next, it shouldn't create anything that's simply placeholder code or base functionality unless the AI is planning on expanding on it later. At no point should the AI say that something is implemented when it's only 10% implemented or is pure placeholder code, and you're expected to code from A to Z and not just provide placeholder or small parts of code that don't really do what a user would want. And then also keep project files between 300 and 500 lines where possible, and don't create duplicate code. If an implementation already exists, build upon it rather than creating a new one. Now, as you use these tools more and more, you'll understand how the different models work and where some of these instructions are absolutely crucial, and for some models you just don't need to even give these instructions. But next you can choose if you want to use different AI models between plan and act mode. So Cline has an act mode, which means it'll write the code, and then it also has a plan mode where it first plans out a detailed implementation that it will act on once you toggle to act mode. For me, I just leave the same model selected for both plan and act mode, and then I usually allow anonymous error and usage reporting. It just sends usage data and error reports. It doesn't send your code or prompts or personal info to Cline. So once that's done and it's set up, you can click on done. Then you'll have the main interface where you'll be chatting with Cline. And first you'll see that you have this auto approve button here. So if I click on that, you can give Cline permission to do these things like read files and directories, edit files, execute safe commands, use the browser, use MCP servers. And MCP servers is a topic for another video. I'm not going to cover that in this video, but it's really, really powerful once you get that set up as well. It basically makes Cline able to search the web and just integrate with other apps and other APIs and just provides a whole bunch of automation that you can do with AI. But we're not going to be looking at that in this video. I basically just select all of these options. I leave the max requests on default. You can also increase this, but I just leave it on the default and use it as is. So down here, you'll type your task, what you want the AI to create. We're going to get to that in a moment, but you can click this at button here, or you can just type an at, and then you can give some context to the AI in the chat by adding a folder or any of these other options that you have here. Then you also have this button here, which is currently unavailable, but you can upload images, and AI models that support images can then look at that image and understand what's going on, and you can tell it, make it look like this image or look at the errors in this image. You can basically troubleshoot or build code just by providing an image. Now that is currently unavailable because DeepSeek chat does not support images, but if you use a more advanced model like Claude by Anthropic, you can do all of these things. Then lastly, you have the plan mode, where in plan mode, Cline will gather info to architect a plan, and then in act mode, Cline will complete the task immediately. Now, before we give the AI an instruction, we should first create a folder for our project. So I'll just go up to File, then Open Folder, and then you can save this anywhere on your computer. I'm just going to save it in the default directory. Right-click, Create New Folder, and let's just call this Cline Test. Then select that folder, and then we have our project folder set up. Then we can just click on the Cline extension again. Just double check that all of our settings are still there, and it is, because it'll save this by default. And now we're ready to start coding. So remember, with vibe coding, you can use this to create anything. You can create mobile apps, you can create websites, you can create Windows apps. If it's created with coding or programming, then you can create it with vibe coding. Now, because my channel is related to Windows, going to be Linux in the future as well, but basically computer-based applications, let's give Cline an instruction to build a simple C# WPF app, which basically just means a Windows app that has a window with buttons that you can click. And this application is simply going to let us toggle between setting our taskbar to the left or in the middle. So because prompt engineering is such a crucial part to getting the correct result that you want, I'm going to type out the prompt in real time and maybe explain some things along the way if anything comes up. So I'll tell it, create a C# WPF application that gives users the ability to toggle the start menu on the taskbar in Windows 11 between centered and left aligned. Use a registry entry to accomplish this. Give the user either a button or slider that helps them toggle between these two alignments. The window can be simple but modern. Okay, so I'm going to prompt it with that prompt. I'm currently on plan mode, which means it's first going to think it through before it starts actually doing the task. And sometimes you might have to send a few messages in plan mode before you get exactly what you want. But I'm going to go ahead and send this message and we'll see what the AI comes up with. So you'll see that it sent the task there. It also tells you how much tokens it used. both the input and the output tokens, the context window of the current model you're using, and then the API cost. And you'll see the API cost here will stay 0 because we're using a free model. So the AI has responded, and it's going to identify the registry key and value that controls the start menu alignment. So you would have noticed I didn't give it the registry key. It already had that in its knowledge base, but it also helps if you provide it with the info that it needs, if it doesn't have it. But I gave it a simple task. It does know which registry entry controls the taskbar alignment. So it gave us a breakdown of this, and it's proposed a plan. It's got the registry configuration. The application features is going to be a modern WPF window with a toggle switch, and then it's going to create this window and then also give us the UI design with the modern material design look, toggle switch in the center, status indicator above the switch, and simple and clean layout. So if we wanted to adjust anything with what it just said, we can tell it that we want to make some adjustments. It also gave us a mermaid diagram of the application flow, but I'm not going to change anything. I'm just going to say proceed with this plan. So I'll select that option, and now you'll see it asked me to toggle to act mode. Actually asked like 3 times. But that's what I need to do now. I need to toggle to act mode so it can implement the plan that it just laid out here. Let me go ahead and click on act, and let's see what it comes up with. So this is vibe coding. It's creating the files itself. I'm not touching anything. Hands are completely off the keyboard and mouse. Cline is now busy creating this application. Now you'll see we got a notification down here from Visual Studio, and depending on which project you're working on, it is going to suggest some extensions for you to install with regards to the language that your application is built in. Because I prompted it to use C#, I got the notification to install the C# dev kit. And this also helps Cline to troubleshoot code and determine any errors that might be in the files. So far, it's already created the main window and then the main window XAML file, which is the code behind file, which controls whatever is happening on the main window. So as you can see, I haven't approved anything yet. It's just still busy doing all of this on its own. So one thing that I saw here is I actually haven't had .NET runtime installed yet, but Cline put that command in the terminal. So it's already started downloading it, and I see .NET 8 has been downloaded successfully now. Then I also don't have the .NET Core SDK. So let's click on Get the SDK. Let's click on Open, and let's get that installed. So once again, depending on what app you're working on and what language it's being written in, you will have different things that you need to install so Cline and the code editor can function properly. So let's just get the .NET SDK installed. Let me just open that to install it. Okay, so .NET SDK has been installed. I'm just going to close that and exit out of the window. And then let's go back to Visual Studio and let's see what the AI said. So it's created the C# application, and we can run it by running this command, and Cline wants to execute the command. So I'll click on Run Command, and it seems it still can't run it because it doesn't recognize the .NET CMDlet yet, although we just installed the SDK. But there's another issue here. So you can see it says Cline won't be able to view the command's output. We need to update VS Code and make sure that we're using a supported shell. First off, let's just check if VS Code is up to date. So we just go to Help, then check for updates. So it is up to date, so that's not the issue. But we need to then make sure we're using a supported shell. So to do that on Windows, we can do Control, Shift, and P. And then we need to type terminal and then select default profile. And I'm going to choose PowerShell. And then let's just check. There's a link here that says still having trouble. Let's just see what Cline says. So there is some good information here on the Cline GitHub page. I've already restarted VS Code and I still had this issue. So there's additional troubleshooting for Windows users. We should download the Git bash. So I'm going to go ahead and do that because I also noticed that it says Git must be installed to use checkpoints. So checkpoints are basically you can go back in time and then restore a file. So let's say the AI made a mess with some of the prompts you gave it, then you can always go back in the chat and you can restore the files from a certain checkpoint from when everything was still working. So let's go to Git. Let's download the installer for Windows. Let's go ahead and install that. And then for the default editor, I'm just going to use Visual Studio Code as Git's default editor. Click on Next. Just leave all of this on the default and then click on Next. But I will choose to use Windows's default console window. I'll leave all of these others on the defaults as well and then just install it and then just click on Finish. So if we go back to the troubleshooting here, Then we can quit and reopen VS Code. But another thing I see here is that we should also update PowerShell. So I'm going to do that as well. So I'll just download the PowerShell MSI package for Windows 64-bit. Then click on Open File. I'll just go through all of the normal setup prompts here. Leave everything on the default. And then click on Install, accept the prompt, and then wait for it to finish installing. So I'm going to open Visual Studio Code again. We should still be in our client test folder. We can go back to Cline, and then we can access our recent tasks here that we were working on. So we need to press Ctrl-Shift-P, terminal, select default profile. Let's use PowerShell 7. If that doesn't work, then I'll switch to Git, and I can see that the Git message is also gone from the task here, which is good. So let's just click in the terminal and then press up so we can get back to that command that it wanted to run before, and then press enter. So see if we can run that command. So we've got an error here. The build failed. We need to fix the build errors and run again. So now what we can do is we can just select this. We can copy it and then we can give it back to Cline in this chat here. So I'm just going to press Ctrl and V, and then I'll press Shift and enter. So I can go to a new line, and I'll just tell it, I tried running the application, but it failed with the errors above. Please fix. In most cases, you don't even have to actually type that. You can just copy and paste whatever the error is, and the AI usually is smart enough to figure out what needs to be done. So it's detected the issue, and now it's gone off and created more files that's needed by the app. So it's going to try and build it itself. And because we updated PowerShell and installed Git, I can see that it also has access to the terminal now. So it'll see that the build succeeded. So it's trying to run the app, but we have an issue. We don't have this framework installed on our current system. So I'm just going to click yes, so we can go ahead and download that. It's open in the web page here. So this is for .NET Runtime 6. Then click on Open File, install, accept the prompt and wait for it to finish, and then click on Close. Now let's try again. Let's run the command again. And there we go. There our app is launched. So the current alignment is centered. Let's click on Switch to Left. So it's busy changing it, and there we go. It's switched to the left. Current alignment is left, as we can see. Let's click on Switch to Centered, wait for it to refresh, and then we can see it's refreshed. The search bar is bugging out, but I think that's just a Windows thing. So there we go, guys. We just created a simple Windows app with no coding knowledge by using AI. And this simple app just switches the start menu alignment between the left and the right, exactly like I asked it to. And now you can go ahead and ask it to make improvements. If you want to change the button or you want to change the way that this looks, you can ask the AI to implement that for you. But just as another example, let's create a new project. So I'm just going to open a new folder. Let's just call this memory website and then select that folder. Then we're going to tell Cline, again using the DeepSeek model, I'm going to tell it create a simple one-page website using HTML, CSS and JavaScript. The website headline should be Memories Tech Tips. Provide links or buttons to the following, and then I'm just going to give it my YouTube channel and I'm going to give it my actual website. So let's switch to plan mode first because we're starting from scratch. Then I'll just send this command and we'll see what it says and what it comes up with. So it just gave out a plan. I'm not going to read through the entire thing. We'll just toggle to act mode and it's going to start creating it. So let's watch the AI create this simple one-page website for me. Now it's going ahead and creating the style file. And obviously, guys, the more you know about coding or programming, you can give it more specific instructions. You can tell it which fonts to use. You can tell it exactly how you want it. But I'm going to run the command and let's see if it opens the website. So there we go. It just created this website. And obviously, this does not look like the most pretty thing, but it was a very simple prompt that I gave it. So it's got Memories Tech Tips as the headline, like I asked. If I click on Watch on YouTube, it'll most probably go to my YouTube channel. And yes, it does because I provided that link. And if you click on Visit Website, it's going to take it to my website. Now that you're at this point, we can basically give it another instruction and tell it, can you make the YouTube button red and the website button blue, and then send that command off. So it determined what it needs to change. So it's going to go off and do that. And it just completed that task. It wants to run the command. And there we go. We now have the YouTube button red and the website button blue. So that's how easy it is to vibe code, and you don't have to let the AI do everything. You can also code this yourself. So if you understand what you're doing, for example, here's the YouTube button. If I wanted to make this, I don't know, green, for example, I can do that in the code editor here. The same with the hover color. Let's change that to something else. If I want to change that to green, I can do that myself and then save the file. And then I can also go into the terminal and then run this command, which is startindex.html. And now my button is green. So that's why I'm saying you don't have to let the AI do everything. You can also do things manually, but there's a massive shift going on right now when it comes to AI and agentic coding. The experts are saying more than 90% of coding is going to be done by AI, and it's going to be very little input from humans, but you still need to understand how this works or else you're going to be left behind. So up until this point, we've been using the free version of DeepSeek, and it's the normal DeepSeek chat. But what I thought about doing is to give this exact prompt that I was using here for creating this website to Claude 3.7 Sonnet, because I've been talking about that a lot throughout this video, and I'm curious to see what kind of job it does with a simple prompt like this compared to something like DeepSeek. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy this prompt, and I'm going to open a new folder for a new project. I'll create a new folder, and let's just call this memory website with Claude. Then select that folder so we have a new workspace. Then I'm going to go back to Cline. I'll go into the settings, and I'm still going to use OpenRouter, but I'll change the model to Sonnet 3.7, which is that one, the normal one. And I remember that earlier I put a limit on this API key, so we will need to remove that limit. So I'm just going to do that and then save it. So now it can use unlimited funds, but I only have about $10 on this account here. But either way, let's click on done and just make sure that we do have the right model selected down here. So I'll just paste that prompt and then make sure that I'm on plan mode first, so it can plan out the website first. And we are using Claude 3.7, so I'll just go ahead and enter that prompt and send it to Cline, and then we'll see what it comes up with. So first it had an error for using the plan mode, but after that it got the website plan, website structure, design approach, technical implementation, and all of that. So would I want any adjustments, or can it proceed? I'm not going to change anything with the approach. I'm just going to toggle to act mode, and it's going to start implementing this directly. So there we go. It started to create those files. Looks like it's already created the index.html file. Now it's focusing on the style.css file. So it's finished creating the styles.css file, and let's see what it wants to do next. Script.js, which is for JavaScript. And I can already tell by looking at the code, this is a much more structured and more thought out website that Claude is creating compared to what DeepSeek gave us. But we'll see the end result once it's finished. So it's busy testing the website now. It's using our browser. It's busy running tests in the background that we can't see right now. And while that's running, I can see in the code here, we've got some comments where it says, in a real application, you would send this data to a server. For this demo, we'll just show a success message. So this is some placeholder code, but it's already a nice implementation or a base to build upon. So here we can see a sort of overview of what the website looks like, but we'll be able to view it in the browser soon. So it just tested the dark mode switch. And this is what agentic coding or vibe coding can do. Cline is going ahead and using the browser and testing these features that it implemented using Claude. And that's why I'm saying using Claude with Cline at the time of this recording is just the best thing that you can do, because it works so good together. So it's just doing some reviews, and there we can see that the task has been completed, and it wants to run the website in our browser. So we can do run command. So it starts the index and then it opens the website in our browser. Now this already looks much better than the one that DeepSeek created. There's also a dark mode toggle that we can enable or disable, and I like dark mode more. Just overall, I can see there is a slight issue with the spacing here between this text and the header there, as well as this button to toggle to dark mode. But as you can see, it added JavaScript as well with some nice animations on these buttons. There's even links to the about page, and it gave us some text there, contact with a form that you can fill in, and that'll then send an email to the email address that's specified in the code. That's going to be just placeholder code now. It's not going to be implemented properly, but these links should work. So if I click on the YouTube channel, it's going to take me to the YouTube channel as well as to my official website. And the point I'm trying to make between these two AI models with Cline is we gave it the exact same prompt. I gave the same prompt to Claude and to DeepSeek. And just to refresh your memory, if I open the first website that's created by DeepSeek and I compare this to the one that's created by Claude, you can see there's a night and day difference here. The one that's created by Claude here on the right is just much better with a simple prompt compared to the one on the left that was created by DeepSeek. Now, let's go back to the website that Claude created and let me show you what you can do with the fact that you can upload images to an AI agent like Claude. So let's use the snipping tool and I'm going to take a screenshot of the entire screen. I'm going to copy this screenshot. I'll go back to VS Code and I'm just going to Control V and paste it into the chat here. And then I'm going to tell Claude, I just provided a screenshot of the website. Can you see there is a spacing issue at the top at the memories tech tips header text and the dark mode slider button. It looks like it's almost overlapping the border behind it. And again, I'm referring to this part here and there. So let me send that to Cline and Claude. I'm not going to toggle to plan mode. I'll leave it on act mode and then just send that message. And let's see if it can figure it out and fix it to make it look better. And as you can see up until now, this is what the cost is for creating this website. It's almost $50 in USD. So it says it can see the spacing issue in the header and it needs to adjust the padding in the header and possibly the alignments of these elements. So it's going to update the CSS file. So let it do that and then let's see what it looks like afterwards. So first it's going to verify it, verify if the fix worked before it's going to open the website in our browser. So it should try to open the website again with this next API request. And there you can see it fixed that issue. That looks like it's now properly inside this container and the dark mode slider button also isn't overlapping when it comes to this part of the container here. So like I've said many times before, you can see there is a night and day difference in the quality of the website that was created with Claude compared to the one that was created with DeepSeek. And creating this website with Claude didn't even cost us $1. Yes, it's not completely finished yet because not everything is implemented, but getting the rest of this set up is not even going to take 20-30 minutes. So I really hope you understand the point that I'm trying to make here between these different AI models. And like I said before, it's evolving so rapidly that in a week or two, there might be a whole new different model that beats all of these other models that might even be better than Claude 3.7 Sonnet. But for the longest time, the models that Claude have put out have been the best at coding up until this point. So this was basically my point of view regarding vibe coding and how I see it. And I've created this video for two reasons. The first one is that this video should give an overview of what vibe coding is and how you can install, for example, VS Code and Cline on your computer. There are many other code editors that do the same thing. This goes way deeper than what I just showed here, but I wanted to provide you with an overview and a basic video which you can always come back to, because in the future I'm going to be doing more advanced videos when it comes to vibe coding or setting up different things inside of these code editors. And then I think this video might be a useful resource for those of you that are interested in this type of thing to come back to. This is evolving every single day, regardless of what you think of letting AI create everything for you. That's not the point. That's like people saying in the past, no, you shouldn't use a calculator. You should only do math by hand because you're getting dumb and you're getting lazy. And yes, that might be true in a sense, but fast forward a few years to where we are now, everyone is still using calculators. That is the standard. That's what people are using. And it's going to be the same with artificial intelligence and the way that coding works in this day and age. So with all of that being said, I hope you got some sort of value from this video. If you're interested, go ahead and grab the infographic. Check out my website for the article, for the written version of this video. And as always, to all of my YouTube members and everyone who's supporting my content, I just want to thank every one of you. I really appreciate your support and it helps me to continue create content full time. And I'll talk to all of you guys soon.